Celtics Talk Podcast is presented by 24autogroup.com, 11 locations across New England.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Celtics Talk Podcast. Nice to downshift from the post-game pods, a chance to settle in, evaluate where the Celtics are at right now, but more importantly, get to know our new guy, Jrue Cotter, the new play-by-play voice for NBC Sports Boston. He'll be doing all the road games this year, a chance to dive into where he's from, what he's about, maybe quiz him on his Celtics fandom or other teams, and just get to learn a little bit about him. And after that, sit down with the Jays. So I got a chance to sit down with both Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown on Media Day. You'll hear portions of those interviews. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Here's my chat with Jrue Cotter. All right, Jrue Cotter, welcome aboard. Two games
Chris.
in. Just give me the 10,000-foot view. How's it been?
Whew. Total whirlwind, man. And thank you for having me on. This is great. You know, just got back from first road trip. We were in New York and Philly. So MSG and Wells Fargo Center right across the street from thousands of drunk Phillies fans going crazy for their win. Not a bad start to the season, and it's been really, really awesome so far.
So I saw you on Sunday night at the Garden when you did your little sit-in. Did that take some of the nerves out? Because, I don't know, man, you seem pretty unflappable. And, to give people a peek behind the curtain, I know when, my first time on TV, I was a mess. I can't imagine being thrown in there. What was the nerve situation like for you as you're embarking on this journey?
Well, Chris, I appreciate you saying that I seem unflappable, because let me tell you, brother, I am flappable, and I've been flapped. I have been flapped. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on this.
Yeah,
podcast.
You're fine.
Yeah, but I feel like I've been flapped before, and I definitely did feel that way a little bit on Sunday night when, like you mentioned, I came on with Mike and Scal, because first of all, a 3-man booth is a little bit awkward, period. But especially when it was that situation where, it's Mike and Scal's show, and I'm trying not to say too much, but also not make it awkward where I'm just kind of sitting there in between them. But as will be a common theme, I'm sure, in this conversation, both those guys, they are the best. Mike is one of the coolest dudes I've ever met, and obviously an absolute legend. And part of the reason I do feel a little bit flappable this year, Chris, is because I'm filling in for that guy, And then Scal is one of the funniest dudes I know already, and he's been super welcoming. We hung out on the road a lot, obviously, the last couple of days. So, yeah, there were some nerves for that one, but I think when we got to call a game together, Scal and me, it sort of felt pretty natural. I think in the first half, we were sort of feeling it out, and we did an audition together, so we sort of knew what the other was cooking a little bit. And then in the second half of game one and then all the way in game two, it felt really, really good.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could tell you hit your stride. And it's only natural, right? Your mind's probably all over the place and wondering how to say Svima, hi, Luke. And then all of a sudden, off you go. I think I said the point where I looked up and said, oh, he's got this, is when you hit Pritchard hour. So lead me through that from a broadcaster perspective. Do you go in with, at what point during the day do you say Preseason P might be just the most perfect nickname for Payton Pritchard ever? And where am I going to sprinkle this in?
I owe so much to Payton Pritchard, Chris, because the two calls people have seemed to like the most were both about him. It's to the point where we landed last night after getting back from Philly. I saw him walking across the tarmac, and I almost walked up to him and said, dude, I just want to say thank you because you've made my job way easier these first couple games. But to answer your question, the Pritching hour, I tried that one on for size with Scal before the game, and he just didn't get it at all. Went straight over his head, even though he's 6'9" or 6'10" or whatever. That's not a great sign, but I
still went for it.
I still went for it. I thought it might work. The thing is, Chris, in an NBA game, as you know, there's so many possessions.
Yeah.
And if Payton Pritchard's going to score 30 a night, we got to find something to say. So I was thinking, maybe we could try this one on. I love NFL Red Zone. It's one of my favorite shows. And if you watch that, Scott Hansen says it's the witching hour where wins become losses and losses become wins and crazy stuff happens. So I was thinking about it Payton Pritchard is kind of in a different zone right now. It sort of feels like he is doing stuff that only magical people can do. Mm-hmm. This is the Pritching hour when he gets hot. And then the next game, Preseason P, I came up with. And by the way, these are both pregame ideas. I wish I could say I'm smart enough or quick enough on my feet to come up with that in the moment. Not even close. Preseason P I came up with actually right after Joe Mazzulla's press conference. And, we were thinking about who's going to play again, and maybe Pritchard has another big game. And I'm like, man, preseason P, like it would be so perfect to play off the playoff P, because that's been a long running joke for NBA fans. Now you have podcast P, but preseason P, I was actually more hesitant to do than the Pritching hour, because I don't want him to be pissed. Like he's not a preseason guy. No. He's going to be playing a lot in the regular season and hopefully in the playoffs as well. But I just thought it was funny because he's been he's probably been the best player in the NBA in the preseason, if I had to guess, and so I thought that it was kind of fitting, and I'm glad that people seem to enjoy it. He's
probably going to regret that contract the way he's playing, right? So, it's hard to balk at 4 years, $30 million, but he might have wanted to hold out for the max contract based on preseason returns. I do want to jump in the time machine, dig into your past. Although you're so young, I don't know. We don't have to go back too far. So take me through. I hear you have some New England connections, but give me the history of Jrue Cotter.
The Boston roots, right? That's what we had in the press release, and I know some people have had fun with that. Like, what does that even really mean, Boston roots? So let me explain that. So I did grow up in Minnesota, and I'll freely admit that, right? Like I'm not going to pretend that I grew up in Boston. And I think one of the big pieces of advice I've gotten from some mentors of mine is to just be myself, right? Like Mike Gorman is a total legend. This is year 43 for him. And there's only one Mike Gorman. So I'm not going to try to be him, because no one can be. I'm just going to try to be myself. So let me just be honest with everybody. I'm from Minnesota. I'm 26 years old, not 25. If you're going to come after me for my age, at least get it right. I'm 26 and my birthday's in June, so you don't have to update that for a while. But the Boston roots, I did live in Norwell for a little bit when I was really young. My parents live on Cape Cod and Dennis year round now. My grandma lived in Duxbury for a while. My aunt has lived in Quincy for basically my entire life.
Wow. Did you ever get to the North Shore, or did you just stay south of the city for your entire Massachusetts duration?
Yeah, North Shore is next. I think I got to get up there next. That's the next stop. But yes, I have a lot of, I guess, roots in Massachusetts. But I did grow up in Minnesota. I went to school at Syracuse, which is another thing that it's like, oh, here we go with another Syracuse guy. But I went there, and because of that, I feel like I have a lot of great people to lean on. Like Ian Eagle is a great example. He's the Nets announcer, and we don't like the Nets, but Ian is pretty damn good at what he does. And so I've had a chance to get to know him. His son Noah was my roommate in college, and we're still really good friends, and he's going to be working with the Nets as well, so we can be friends despite that. I've had some awesome people to lean on, and really I think I owe a lot to Syracuse for being at ESPN and now being with the Celtics. So that's, I guess, my bio blast from Minnesota, went to Syracuse, which I'm sure people are like X and X, but I will say this, Chris, look at my phone case. I might have shown you this already.
Look at this.
This is why people should check this out on YouTube.
We have Minnesota to thank for all of Boston's stars, from David Ortiz to Randy Moss to Kevin Garnett.
Yes.
We just ripped all the beloved players out of your lovely city.
That's right. So my phone case is Randy Moss and Kevin Garnett. Iconic photo, the two best Minnesota athletes of my lifetime. And what do they have in common? They both went to Boston and won a championship. So I'm hoping to do the same thing, going from Minnesota to Boston and winning another title.
So, does that make you, you can either lean into this heavy and just make it, and run with it, or you can just tell the truth. But did that make you did you at least have your eyes on Boston sports more because your favorite players were gravitating to this lovely city?
Well, I will say I resented Kevin McHale for trading Kevin Garnett for Al Jefferson, who then he turned into Costa Koufis. So I resented that. And when I was a Timberwolves fan at that time, when I was like 10 years old, I was like, wow, Kevin McHale just gave away the Timberwolves' best player to the team he played for. So I guess respect the biz, but I was pretty upset about that. David Ortiz was not very good for the Twins, and then he went to the Red Sox, and obviously we know what happened there. So there was maybe a little bit of resentment in those situations. Randy Moss, not at all, because dude's a legend and did everything he could in Minnesota. And I was happy for him winning a Super Bowl in New England, or going undefeated, almost winning a Super Bowl. So, yeah, I would say I always had my eye on Boston sports, but I did know, Chris, just because of my quote unquote roots in Boston, like I've always known that it's the best sports town in America. And, people can argue about that. Like I think Chicago people or maybe Philly people, which I saw firsthand last night, they might say they're just as passionate, but even them, I think they would respect the Boston fans, because it is such a passionate city. And so I've always had a lot of admiration for that. And I think it's a really cool opportunity here for us covering the Celtics that we're covering the best team in the city. Like the Patriots are not good and the Red Sox had a bad year. We'll see what happens with the Bruins, but the Celtics, it feels like a Celtics town right now.
Yeah, and it's weird because I grew up here, but like it hasn't always been like as soon as the Patriots got good. I mean, it was really a Red Sox town forever, but once they broke the curse and got that World Series, it turned to maybe more of a Patriot city, and it hasn't really been. I mean, 2008 was weird. Like the Red Sox were really good that year too, and so this does feel like the Celtics have a crazy opportunity to sort of really wrestle this city away. You did mention the Minnesota trade, though. Were you not a Ryan Gomes guy or whatever other pieces they got out of that deal?
So he
could have had Rondo.
Let me explain what being a Minnesota Timberwolves fan was like when I was growing up. I would walk around downtown Minneapolis and I would see a poster with Rashad McCants on it. And it would say, $5, you get a ticket, a hot dog, and a Pepsi.
Ooh.
Chris, this was not that long ago. This was like 2007. We're not talking about like milk was 25 cents back in my day. No, this is like not that long ago. And a hot dog actually probably cost more than $5. And they were begging people to come to the arena. So with that being said, I am glad that I get to root for the Celtics now. And I am absolutely bought in. Like I really love this team. I know I haven't been there for that long, but being around the players and coaches and, Scal and Mike and Abby and Paul Lucy and Jim Edmonds who run the show from the truck, I am all in, man. I'm going to be wearing a lot of green.
Yeah, I'm telling you, and you picked a good year to come aboard because we've had some wild rides, and the Kyrie years were if that had been your first year, I would have had to coddle you a little bit and lead you through it because that was a wild ride. What has it been like? Just prepping for a season. I mean, you still have your other responsibilities as well. You were telling me tomorrow, Northern Illinois. So like, how do you balance that as a broadcast journalist in trying to be ready for these things?
Well, it's a lot different, right? Because if you're doing a national game, Northern Illinois, Ohio is the game I'm doing. I can't remember. I can't believe you didn't remember who they're playing.
I'm sorry.
It's a big time show. Yeah, that's this weekend. If you're doing a team and you're there every night, you got to find ways to keep it fresh. And obviously we're still new in the season, but I think the best way to do that is telling fans stuff that they don't already know. There are a lot of Celtics fans who know the team as well or better than I do. So using the access that we're afforded by being around the team, being at the arena a couple hours early, traveling with the team, talking to players and coaches, that's a great way to learn some stuff that you might not be able to pick up just from reading about it on the internet. Like Svi Mihajlovic is a great example. I saw him at the hotel in Philly, and you notice I'm just going to say it quickly with conviction because I'm pretty sure that's right, but I'm not 100% right. Even after asking him. But I saw him and I was like, hey man, what's your vertical? Because he's got some serious bunnies. Like he got up and it looked like his head was near the rim on Monday. Like, what's your vertical? He goes, I haven't been tested in a while, but you have to have a good vertical if you have short arms. Like, well, what are you talking about with that? What's your wingspan? He's like, it's a -3 or a -4, which, in basketball-ese means his wingspan is 3 or 4 inches shorter than his height, which is typically the opposite of most NBA players. So I just found that really interesting, and it was something we could use in the broadcast. And I feel like you probably wouldn't find that online if you just Googled Svi Mihajlovic. So stuff like that is, what comes up hopefully over the course of the season, where we can educate and entertain the viewers.
Has anyone ever asked Jrue Cotter what his vertical is or what his wingspan is? Are you a negative wingspan guy?
I think I'm a positive wingspan guy, actually. The problem is it doesn't help me that much. I'm a pretty bad pickup player, and I've told Scal this. Like, I want to play pickup with Scal and his son Ryder. I need to be on his team, obviously, because I've seen the videos. What happens to people who play against Scal, especially one-on-one. But I'm a pretty dirty physical player because I have to make up for my lack of skill. Somehow I can't shoot. I can rebound a little bit, but you're going to catch an elbow to the teeth if you're playing against me. So, Scal, if you're listening, that's what you're going to get if you recruit me to your team.
He played in the media game one time a couple years ago, and the third time he flattened a reporter and, trying to take a charge, we decided that he was not going to be invited back. And so, tread cautiously with that. I don't know if he's going to take you to whatever LA Fitness or, whatever he's got going on the road. What is it like? You mentioned the sort of pressure taking over from Mike Gorman. What did you know about Mike? What have you learned from just getting to know him now? You are correct. He is the greatest person on earth. And I'll be honest, whoever was coming next was going to be in a tough position. And, you seem to have the right, the way you're approaching it is the way you have to do it. No one can be Mike.
Yeah. See, I think the big thing about this year, Chris, is it's about Mike. And I'm going to try to defer as much as possible because I think people might be like, who is this guy? And who's taking over for Mike? There's really nothing out there about me. So if people want to know, that's great. And I'm flattered, but this year is about Mike because it's one of the best careers in broadcasting history for one of the best people you will meet in the industry or really in sports or in life, period. And that's been the really cool thing for me to find out about Mike is just how cool he is. He is a cool dude. He rolls into the media room and that Mike Gorman is there and he's a legend. But you wouldn't know it with how he treats people because he seems to treat everybody with kindness and respect. And that's probably the biggest thing I want to emulate from him, right? I said, I can't be him as an announcer. There's only one of him, but trying to, take after him in terms of how he interacts with people off the mic, that's the good stuff to me. And that's part of the reason why everybody loves him. And, I went to college with a lot of people from Boston and a lot of big Celtics fans. So I would hear about the Mike and Tommy show. And, you'd hear about some of the viral clips and, maybe when Tommy would go after the referees or the guys on the other team. And then that goes back, right? That's tradition. That goes back to Johnny Most with, what did he call Magic Johnson? Crying Magic or something?
Tragic Johnson or?
Yes. I'm sure he had a bunch. And again, that's their thing. And, everybody has their own thing. But the one thing I think I can take from Mike is just being a good person. Because to me, that's the most important thing in this job or really in anything.
I'm going to send you some pictures we have of him back when this was before even we used to be Sports Channel and it was called Prism. And there's Mike in this almost highlighter green blazer, just dripping swag. And for 43 years, he never stopped. And even now he rolls in and he's a rock star. So like you said, I'm excited too. I still pinch myself as someone who's from here. Every time I have to do something with Mike, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. What am I doing here? Why are they letting, I ask that every night when we're on air, but it is nice of them to allow me to have some fun. So Mike tells the story all the time about, Johnny Most kind of coming to him and Mike didn't have a signature call and, how Got It came around and making it his own. Do you dabble in signature phrases yet? Or and do you feel any pressure to have something? I feel like every young broadcaster probably feels that pressure to have something they can in the bag, but it's got to come organically.
I think so. Yeah, that's the key is what you just said, Chris, is it's got to happen organically. Now, Got It is an interesting one because Mike has his own distinct way of saying it, but I feel like a lot of broadcasters do say it. And I've caught myself a couple times where, you announce that a shot is coming and then a guy says, got it. And I'm like, ooh, yikes. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say got it yet because that is Mike's thing. But no, I don't have any signature catchphrases. Maybe that'll happen one day. I think right now I'm just going to roll with the Pritchard hour and preseason P and just see how far that takes me.
Look, dipping your toes in, you've done well. Like I said, it was immediate feedback from even my friends who are going to over scrutinize everything you do, and not to put more pressure on you. But it is interesting as you start to navigate this. What has it been like? What are your impressions of the team so far? I guess it's also a pretty fortuitous situation to come in and they're pretty good.
Yeah, I think they're going to win the championship, Chris. That's my prediction. Am I allowed to say we yet?
Yeah, I think you're fine.
Yeah, I think we're gonna raise banner 18 this year. And honestly, people might not believe this, but I really think I would be saying that even if I didn't work for the team. Just as an objective basketball fan, how do you score on this team and how do you not let them score on you? Like when you have that top six out there, I mean, the only problem, and it's a good problem to have, is who's going to start and who's going to finish games. And I think that'll be mostly based on matchups, if I had to guess. And I got to ask Scal about that on the air yesterday, is like, how big of a deal is that in the NBA? Like when egos get involved, does it really matter who's starting versus who's finishing games? And I think it goes situation by situation there. But to me, the Celtics seem like a perfectly constructed roster for the modern NBA. I mean, you have maybe the two best defensive guards in the league in Derek White and Jrue Holiday. You've got a guy in Kristaps Porzingis who I think his rim protection has actually become underrated over the years because he does so much on the other side of the floor. And it's easy to forget he's still in his 20s. You know, it feels like he's been around forever, but there's still a chance that he's improving, and he's looked amazing in the preseason. And what everyone wants in the NBA is versatile wings. And we've got two of the best in the NBA, two all-NBA guys in Jaylen and Jayson. And I just think that the roster is built perfectly. And the most exciting thing too, Chris, is that the team is all in from every level. Like I got a chance to meet Wick Grossbeck for the first time the other night. And Scal was like, hey, thank you for investing in this team, Wick.
Right.
Because he and Steve Paliuka and everyone involved, Brad Stevens, of course, Mike Zarin, they have invested in this team in a smart way that I think has us set up for a really, really fun season, especially if Payton Pritchard scores 26 off the bench every night, which it seems like he will.
Are you worried that Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are dodging you?
All I want is to call one of their games. Then I'll realize that this is actually a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you'll probably get an opportunity sooner than later, but I mean, I don't know if they'll play that preseason finale, so you could go 0-3 this preseason. Man,
I really hope, just suit up for 30 seconds. All NBJs. 30 seconds is all we want.
You did mention Jrue Holiday, and like, I mean, that's gonna be wild for me too. Like, as you're getting ready to dive into this, and obviously they already had Porzingis at that point, but they make this other kind of blockbuster for Jrue Holiday. I checked it out with our friends over at Fanatic Sportsbook. Jrue Holiday, the odds for Defensive Player of the Year right now are plus 2,500. Powered by Fanatic Sportsbook, where you can earn up to 5% fan cash on your bets. That the Celtics went from Marcus Smart to another guy that is even in that conversation, and someone who could make them. I think the NBA GMs just voted them the potential best defense in the NBA. Like, how are you feeling about this defense based on what you've seen out there?
Well, in that survey, Chris, they also had Jrue listed as the best perimeter defender in the NBA. And again, I think the only other guy who you could really make an argument for as a guard defender is the dude playing next to him, and Derek White, who had 3 blocks yesterday. And by the way, this is not to get us off track here, but another potential call I've been thinking about is how Derek White has the most blocks of any guard last season. So sometimes a guy who blocks a lot of shots, they'll refer to him as an eraser. What about a whiteout? Like every Derek White block is a whiteout. How do we feel about that, Chris?
I don't hate it. Like, look, what you're going to learn about me is I love terrible puns.
Good.
I love anytime you have to explain the joke, that's my wheelhouse. Because I'll say something and like Amina and Eddie will just give me these stares like, the hell does that mean? and then I have to explain my jokes, and it's great. I think because I think he averaged almost a block per game for stretches of last season. It would get plenty of use.
Yes.
And I like it. I mean, again, sometimes you just got to throw that out into the universe in the middle of a game and see if it comes back.
Yeah, right. So I totally agree. We're going to get along great then, because like I said, Scal didn't understand my Pritchard thing, and I did it anyway. So hopefully we have a lot of whiteouts this year. But those two guys were the two best defensive guards in the league, probably. And then Porzingis, we talked about his rim protection. Tatum and Brown, like when they first came into the league, I feel like a big part of the appeal was the defense. I mean, we know what they can do offensively now, but those guys are both, I would say, borderline elite defenders. And then Al Horford is not too shabby defensively in his own right. And what's been really exciting too, watching the preseason, is this guy Neemias Queta, who that's another pronunciation.
You just wanted to show off the pronunciation guy yet again right there.
Yeah, and that's another one that Basketball Reference will trip you up on, because it says Neemias, SH, and asking the Celtics PR people, they say it's Neemias without the H at the end.
Oh, I was told that the Portuguese used the ush at the end.
So we're going to have to figure this out by the regular season. I'll ask him, or you ask him, Chris, and send me a text. But however you say his name, the dude's huge. He's long. He looks like a great Rob Williams light potential replacement. And
careful. You've got to learn things about me before we go down. You might have heard some stuff about me and Rob, but yeah, I'll allow you to continue.
Well, I heard the podcast you and Abby did after the trade where Rob Williams left. I'm like, why does he sound so depressed right now? So I had one bit,
and it wasn't even a bit. I just genuinely loved Rob Williams, and I mean, as much as I totally understand the trade, as you heard in that podcast, I'm still processing the emotions.
It's gonna be okay. Rob Williams, he's only across the country. We'll see him at some point this year. But Neemias Queta, the only reason I say that, and obviously that's, those are big shoes to fill. And I'm not saying he is Time Lord yet, but in terms of filling that role of guy who sets screens, rolls hard to the cup, protects the rim, and doesn't have to play 38 minutes a night, I think Queta could fill that role really well.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm excited. And it's funny because some people get all bummed out when the starters aren't out there. And, as much as I'm busting your chops about not seeing the Jays yet, I like those nights because we all love backup quarterbacks and we all love trying to determine who's going to be the eighth man, the ninth man. And so watching Queta get in there and really show me a little something, at least more than the other centers have showed to this point, is really encouraging. And I'm with you. I'm kind of interested. Celtics got a bunch of wings. Like, does Svi emerge? Does Lamar Stevens make this roster? What happens? Does O'Shea carve out a role? Still little things. But the top six is so good, you can just sort of figure that out on the fly.
Yeah, I think if you really love diving into this stuff and you're as obsessed with basketball as we are, those nights are the good stuff. Like Delano Banton is a 6'7" point guard. Oh my goodness. Look how in control he is of this game right now. That's the exciting stuff. And by the way, speaking of, pronunciations and confirming stuff with the PR team, Delano Banton, depending on where you look, you'll see 6'7" or 6'9". And I think the 6'9" might have come from college, or maybe when he was in Toronto, his first 2 years were with the Raptors. The Celtics website has him at 6'7". But someone we talked to said he's 6'7"3/4 without shoes on, which is the new NBA rule as of 2019. Going back to KG, remember he was the tallest 6'11" guy in the history of the world. He was more like 6'13".
Yeah,
because he didn't want to be a 7-footer because he didn't really want to play center. Kevin Durant is the same thing. Then you have guys who are 5'9" listed at 6 foot. It used to be the Wild West in terms of listing heights. Now you have to take a photo and have it approved by the team doctor and get it a notary has to sign it or something probably, but now it's legit. So Ben, I think, is 6'7"3/4 without shoes, and he's a point guard.
Shouldn't we be? I know you guys were talking about it last night. Can't we round up at that point?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair to say 6'8".
6'8". I mean, if you're going to be a point guard player, that's what jumps out every time to me. I'm like, oh my God, he's 6'8". Well, I guess that's what I'll say now instead of 6'9".
It's like a dating app. Yeah. Give yourself extra couple of inches. It's more impressive.
I will say, back to the whiteout for a second. I was just checking more of those Fanatic Sportsbook odds, and it's Derek White, 6th man of the year, plus 1,100. I don't know if he's going to be the 6th man. I don't know what the how this will all play out, but it's intriguing to me.
He's got to be, if he does come off the bench, he's got to be the best bench player in the NBA, right? I mean, he should have been in the top 100, by the way. That's again, not to get sidetracked here, but my other employer, ESPN, what are we doing? What are we doing, Derek?
Same here. Like I that was my former employer, and I don't want to get too mad at those people because I know how those ranking things go. But how do you not have Derek White on that list?
I know.
He's a top 10 NBA defender last year, and we don't even have him in the top 100 of all NBA players. It had me ruffled, but I'm sure Celtics love it. Just a little extra motivation for Derek White.
Absolutely. And if he's not going to win 6th man of the year, then maybe Payton Pritchard will win 6th man of the year. They have to start giving out a 7th man of the year, like how we give out the Tommy Award on NBC Sports Boston. They got to come up with a new award to recognize how good this team is.
You remember, I'm also going to give you some power here. Like, Scal can get a little wild with the Tommy Award. There's some nights where we sit in the studio and we groan a little bit, but it's a hefty responsibility. It always comes down to Tommy beloved all the players that gave hustle over stats. And I know there are nights you got to reward the guy that goes out and has the big night off the bench or whatever. But just if there's a guy getting gritty, kind of steer him a little bit, be like, Scal, that guy deserves the Tommy Award tonight, right? That's, you can put your little imprint on that as well.
Maybe by January, I'll feel comfortable and confident enough to start steering Scal. First couple months, we'll
let him be.
feel it out. Yeah, I'll just spectate. But then once we get past the new year, then maybe I'll put my own input in there.
All right. I told you I was going to keep you 20 minutes, and it's been like 30. But I got one more question for you. So when I first was trying to figure out who you were, and sorry I had not checked out Ohio, Northern Illinois, or whatever else you had been on. But one of the things that kept coming back was everyone was like, "Oh, he did the Toy Story game." So first off, just set it up, and then what was that like?
One of the coolest experiences of my life, the Toy Story game. So I know we said 20 minutes and we're past the 30-minute mark. I could really talk about this for 15, Chris. So I'm going to try to
go for it. Like, there's no time limit on this. Like, it's not like an NBA game. So I'm not going to let you do what you do.
That's the beauty of a podcast, right? So the Toy Story game, here's how that came about. At ESPN, I think I'm probably the most cartoonish on-air personality we have. And that's not necessarily a compliment. Like Pat McAfee, big personality, goofy, but we did this NHL game in the universe of a cartoon show on Disney Channel called Big City Greens. And so that was last March. And it went really well. It kind of started as this like pie in the sky idea that I first heard about in December, so 4 months in advance. And one of my bosses who showed a lot of faith in me was like, I think Jrue would be good for this because he's young, can probably connect to that audience, and not afraid to make himself look like a clown because he basically does that every time anyway. So we might as well just have him go out there and have fun. So that broadcast, they had us in the motion capture suits. They had this amazing technology through actually a Dutch company called Beyond Sports, which uses chip tracking of the ball, or in this case, the puck. And then the same player tracking technology you'd use in a variety of sports. Like they have it in basketball with a bunch of different cameras. And they can literally track like the skeletons of the players. It's amazing tech. So they use the same thing to give you stats like how fast was Tyreek Hill running on that touchdown to animate the players in real time. So we did that in March for an NHL game and it went well. So we're thinking maybe we could do that for an NFL game the following year. And NHL and Big City Greens was amazing and the response was cool, but it's the NFL and it's Toy Story. Like that was that on steroids. So when the first one was like, let's try this and see if it sticks. The second one was, oh my God, people are actually going to be watching this. It's a standalone NFL window at 9:30 on a Sunday. There's some pressure here. Like the lights are bright. So we were back in the motion capture suits. I was with Booger McFarland and Pepper Pursley, who are two absolute pros, and they totally bought in. And we had some tech issues off the top, but once we settled in, people seemed to really enjoy it. And it was amazing, Chris. And, to link it back to the Celtics, my phone was kind of blowing up during the Toy Story game because people were like, this is the coolest thing ever, man. Like doing a great job. Love it. The only text I sent in that 3.5-hour window of the Toy Story game was to Kevin Miller, our boss at NBC Sports Boston. Holy bleep, we got Jrue, Jrue. Because the Jrue Holiday news broke during the Toy Story game. And that was the only thing that could have gotten me to send a text during that game. Because I'm watching 3 different screens. One of them is animated. I had watched 10 hours of Toy Story movies to get ready for the game. I've got a list of references I'm trying to work in. There's a lot of moving parts here. But when I saw Jrue Holiday's coming to the Celtics, that was worth sending a text. So that's
awesome. Cool. Well, like I said, it was it's really cool. I saw the response. I saw people tweeting at you, and some of the people that mentioned that they wouldn't otherwise have ever watched an NFL game with their kids or whatnot. Like it's really cool to see how that played out. Now we just need to use to leverage that to see how we get the NBA involved with some mo capture. And
yes.
I got to see Mike Gorman in motion capture gear before he hangs it up and see how that goes.
Well, here's one thing we know, Chris. He would look super cool in motion capture because he looks super cool in whatever he does. And before we go here, let me just say, Mike has legitimately been so awesome in this process, which will surprise nobody because we all know what kind of a guy he is. But we didn't know each other before this all came about. And I think it would have been easy for a guy like him to say, who is this guy? I've been calling Celtics games longer than he's been alive. Like, this is crazy. But ever since the jump, ever since we first met, he has just been amazing. And I talked to him and his wife, Terry, on the phone for a long time the other day when they were driving. Terry actually gave me some good broadcasting advice because she's been in the industry and she's like next level in terms of, her smarts and the way she thinks about stuff. And I just cannot thank Mike enough for. I don't know if Mike's going to listen to this. I don't know if he's a big podcast guy, but
I mean, he pops on from time to time, but I can't. He has to have something better to do than listen to us.
He does, but Mike has just been amazing, and I am really, really grateful for that, because at the end of the day, Chris, the one guy whose approval means the most to me is his. Yeah. And for him to be so kind so far has just been really cool.
That's awesome. Well, I do have one last question. Who do we have to thank for your voice?
It's all fake, baby. When we turn the mics off, you'll hear how I actually
Hi, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I take some helium every time off the air. Yeah.
Dad voice? Like what's the deal? Like,
I mean, my dad is 6'6" and was in the military. He went to West Point and played football there. So he's way more of a badass and way more of a macho man than I am. So maybe that's like the one thing I took from him. But, I do have some tea I'm drinking out of my Gronk mug right now.
What did you go to tea?
I'm glad you asked. I've got my special recipe. It's this thing called throat coat.
Yeah, everyone loves
right here. Yep. Throat coat is great. You put some honey in there, and then you actually drop a cough drop in the tea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I have these honey lemon Vicks Vapo Cool cough drops, which they're great to take on their own. It's like dropping a flashbang into your mouth. It just clears you out right away. If you put it in the tea, it takes it to the next level, and it's a great antidote for whatever has you down.
All right. Well, rest up. Not to rub it in, but we're closing out this podcast by I got to sit down with Jayson and Jaylen before the start of the season at Media. Yeah, I know. And I didn't actually get to watch them play either, but I got to talk to them. So we're kicking Jrue out, and we're going to talk to Jayson and Jaylen. Here's our chat with Jayson and Jaylen.
Look no further than the award-winning 24 Auto Group. With over 2,600 vehicles in stock, the brands you love, backed by the savings and service you can count on. Visit today or shop online at 24autogroup.com.
I want to start. Take me through the whole process of you and Paul Pierce getting hooked up. He sort of mentioned that Sam Cassell can come to your workout. Like, how did that all go down?
Yeah, so I go to LA every summer, train with Jrue, and Sam Cassell is my new position coach. So Sam came out there for a few days, and he just brought Paul to the gym one day, and they came like 3-4 days in a row. Sam went back to Boston, and Paul just was like, when you working out again? So Paul would come to the weight room, and he would work out with me and Nick, and then he would get in the car and follow us to the gym, and he would just watch me work out. And that was for like 3-4 weeks. I saw Paul every single day, and it was cool to have him around. It was cool to work out with him. Paul was motivated, right? I think he lost like 15 to 20 pounds. You could tell he kind of felt younger being around myself and a few of my friends, and it was kind of like he was just one of the guys. And it was an honor to have him around and listen to him talk and tell stories. So it was cool for me to spend that much time with him. Celtics legend, NBA legend, and a guy that I have a lot of respect for.
What is the biggest thing you pull from that? Like, what can he talked to, like, one, just be a part of your journey. Like, what can he impart upon you as someone who has been through this and won the title and done all that?
Just his experiences, especially in that 08 season. The ups and downs, the things that they did as a unit, as a group. How they empowered everybody, because at some point throughout the season, you're gonna need each and every person to help win a game. So it was just cool to hear him talk about, especially that 08 team, and how much fun that was, and the battles and the arguments and the good times that they had. So just hearing those stories was cool.
What's it been like? The off season's essentially bookended by emotional, but like moves that probably improve the overall talent of your team. I guess start with Jrue, like the most recent. What goes through your mind when you hear that you're adding a player of that caliber?
You're excited, right? Jrue is one of the most respected guys in the league. Somebody that I was on the USA team with, won a gold medal, so I know him pretty well. Extremely excited and happy to have him. Obviously, one of the best two-way guys that the league has seen. But it's also tough, losing Malcolm, somebody that helped us a lot last year and that, you grew to have a relationship with, and especially Rob. I spent 5 years with Rob, and he was a big part of the success that we had, since I've been here, somebody that I grew to be really close with. So that, that's the tough part about, these trades that, sometimes your friends that you spend a lot of time with, shipped off to another team.
What did you learn about Jrue from the Team USA experience, from just going up against Milwaukee all those years? Like, what can he add to this?
He's, elite competitor, big guard, obviously a great defender, and, puts pressure on the defense, right? He's elite shooter. He can post up. He pushes it in transition. Selfless guy. It's all about winning, and just somebody that you would love to have on your team.
How much can that? We talked about it with Pierce, but like now with Jrue, like he's been there, he's won. The one you guys, for all you've accomplished, the one thing that's missing has been sort of getting to that finish line. How much can he help you? Not only help you get there, but be like someone that can help guide that path.
I mean, absolutely. He did it recently. He knows what it takes. He's been on a championship team. They faced adversity. They was down 0-2, and they still figured out a way to win. So it's a lot that I'm certain that I can and will learn from Jrue and his experiences on that championship team.
Take me through Kristaps? Like, obviously losing Smart, same deal, like range of emotions. Like, but what can Kristaps add to this process as well?
I mean, he's extremely tall. Just adds another layer of versatility. He can stretch the floor, right? He can really, really shoot the ball. Now we really have a low post presence that, we haven't had to that magnitude really since I've been here. And obviously, elite shot blocker, can protect the rim. So, we have a lot of length on the floor now.
How's the wrist feeling?
Feel fine. Body feels great. Going into training camp feeling healthy and feeling ready.
So did you give any consideration to surgery? I know you said in the past it's not ideal, but do you feel comfortable about where you're at?
Yeah, thought about it. It just wasn't a common surgery to get, so it wasn't certain how it may maybe affect me long term. So, got a second and third and fourth opinions. But, took the right measures and things like that this off season, so feel fine.
Were you the one who sent out the photo of Joe in the photo booth at Marcus Smart's wedding?
Yeah, that was.
Did you ask for his approval before sending the photo?
No, I maybe should have, but no, I didn't. We had fun. We had a good time.
What don't we see about Joe from the way you know him to? He was joking, get caught between, like he was doing a hard pose and then it was supposed to be, something lighthearted. But like, even just today, we've seen him open up a little bit more than we have. Like, what's it like behind the scenes with Joe?
I mean, Joe is a funny guy. He has a great sense of humor. Is always laughing, always joking. Is a fun person to be around. Normal guy.
You've had expectations pretty much every season since you've been in the league, but like, does it feel any different this year? Is there any extra because you've been so close so many times to get over that edge?
I mean, yeah, people expect us to win. People expect us to get to the championship, and when we don't, we didn't meet the expectations. We're a really good team. We got really good players, and that's how it should be.
First off, tell me about going to Colorado with Derek. How did that come about? Whose decision was that?
How did it come about? I think we was just in the locker room here in the summertime, getting some work in, and they were doing well. Colorado was making some noise. D-White was talking about it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man, I would love to go to a game. I see what Dion is doing over there, just everything he's brought to the culture. So I was like, D-White, like, let's do it. Like, I'll go with you. You going to a game? He was like, I'm going to the USC game on the 30th. Caleb Williams, Shedeur Sanders, big names, hopefully in the future of football. Somebody we'll see in the NFL and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it came about.
What was it like? I mean, it seems like an experience when considering the hype that's around that team now.
Oh, yeah, the experience was great. You would have thought you were at a HBCU or something like that, the way it was jumping in there. It was just, so many fans, so many people, so many celebrities. You got rappers, you got other NFL players coaching the Colorado side up. Like, what place you ever can get an experience where you got NFL players actually asking to spend their time to help you, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. So I think, what Deion has been able to do, man, and create that culture and environment is special. So it was a really great experience. I really had a good time.
And Pierce and KG were there as well?
Pierce and KG was there. It was a lot of athletes that were there, but got to spend some time with Paul and Ticket, and they're hilarious. Both of them, just nonstop. They're hilarious. They're like, you're just like two older brothers that's just funny, and just great to be around. So I had a good time.
Joe was talking about, and Brad's tried this, like when he reached out to all the old stars of the Celtics and said, like, we want you around. We're like, and send an open door. But Joe wants to take it to a whole nother, like, what is it like when you get to interact with those guys? And, like, can you take anything from guys that have won banners and done all that?
Absolutely. I think, their experiences are real, and what they, went through and their journey here, some of it is no different than what, we're going through and stuff like that, and seats that we're sitting in. So being able to hear from their experience and how they navigated it, I think gives you a little bit of an insight too, and can help you personally on how to maneuver and go about the journey as well, and they're the last people to do what we've been setting out to do. So, just spending time with them, and building, intergenerationally has been great, So, Paul and Ticket, they just been this year for sure, this summer, they've been super vocal, they've been around. Paul has worked out with me. He's pulled up to the workouts. He's been there. He's giving comments. And stuff.
What does he say? Like, what can Paul Pierce impart to you in those moments?
A lot of the stuff we be talking about is just off the court. Just how life stuff with P, like what's going on. A lot of jokes, but even on the court too, some stuff in the post. You know what I mean? Just he just encouragement is really where he he's getting after the trainers if they're not doing their job. Like if the floor is not, he's getting on the person who's supposed to be cleaning the floor. If you don't got no water, he's getting on the person that's not bringing the water. And it's just like, I love it. I appreciate it. To have somebody like that just in the mix with you, like as you grinding, a champion, a multi-time All-Star, Hall of Famer, etc. around, bless him for that. I think that's really cool.
Jayson said he came to one workout with Sam and then ended up staying like 4 weeks and working out with him every day. Like I just think that's cool. Like I think there's got to be something you can pull from that. Do you feel there's been expectations every single year you've been here? Does it feel anything more this year, especially with the roster that you've constructed?
For me personally, no, and hopefully I can keep that away from our group. I think obviously we know what the expectation is, but we just need to not know it. We need to come out and be the best versions of ourselves each and every day. I think that, that's the key, just focusing on the task at hand in front of us. We don't want to get comfortable or, get lazy waiting for the playoffs. We need to treat every day like it's just as important as the last, and just completely just run through the finish line.
Was it important for you to be here early? It felt like a lot of the veteran guys don't have to be here that as early as it seemed like you guys came in. Like, why did you make that decision to be here?
I think Joe wanted us to be in. I had some other obligations, so I was in and out. But I definitely wanted to make my presence here with the young guys, get some workouts with them, go through some actions with them, let the coaching staff get familiar with me, get familiar with them, new actions that we're running. Obviously, Joe's got a year under his belt. He wants to get a little bit more established this season. So to be back, to be in, just to show your face a little bit was important. So I made the time.
So 2 major moves to sort of bookend the offseason. Let's start with the most recent one. What can Jrue bring to your team? What did you learn going up against him, and what can he bring to your core?
Jrue's really good. He's like the fighter that is always like walking you down. You watch boxing. Mm-hmm. The fighter that always like putting pressure on you. Just not always trying to swing or throw a punch, but just always in your space. That's kind of Jrue. He's always in that box. You know what I mean? And he's just always close enough, and it's just like his presence itself can make you just, make a mistake. So just being a part on the same team now is gonna be great. As a competitor, as a person who has guarded him and he has guarded as well, it's just the respect is through the roof, to be honest. Like, Jrue is one of those type of players that, a lot of guys nod their head at. So to have him on your team now, it's no excuse for you, looking across the line for, bringing out the best. And that's what I want to do. I want to bring out the best in the people around me. I want to bring the best out of myself. Let's all challenge ourselves towards greatness this year, rather than looking around and being like, oh, somebody else is going to do it, or we got Jrue, he's going to do it, JT, I'm going to be the one to do it.
How can Kristaps help you, and what have you learned about him from the first few months here?
Kristaps is great. Obviously his shooting ability, at his size is tremendous. To be able to space the floor, it's going to fit right in our system, but defensively is what, I definitely want to continue to make an impact on him. I want him to be a shot blocker. I want all of us to get defensive votes this year. I want all of us to be on that type of time. So challenging each other to get the most out of each other, throughout the year is going to be key. It's going to take transparency. It's going to take, getting into it with each other a little bit, but all in a constructive manner, like we all know what we're working for. So let's challenge each other every day towards that goal.
I think Jayson mentioned over the summer at one point he wants to be on that all defense. Like, has that been a talking point for you guys, like just taking that up a level?
No, not at all. I think I've seen the comments where he's said that, and I've said it too, and it was like, that's just where my brain was at. I feel like that's something that, somebody like me got the ability to do so. And at times in my career, just because we've had great defenders, et cetera, throughout my career, sometimes my responsibility on that end has been more on offense or less. But to challenge myself more throughout the year is important, because in the playoffs, I take on certain roles and responsibilities, no problem. But even challenging yourself throughout the year to push yourself in that regard, because that's the side of the ball that we don't appreciate as much. It's a part of a game that we don't appreciate as much. We emphasize and glorify the offensive side, but the defense can really affect, and really adds to winning. So really taking that serious, really locking in, really pushing the teammates around you, trying to be the best you can be.